We start
Well,
everyone laughing.
yes.
Oh,
Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Fresh Set. I'm Sabrina,
and I'm Kevin.
and I'm in Ferrari red
I thought you were
for.
going to say you're in Monaco. I'm like, no, you are not.
Oh, no,
It's the
I'm
same
not.
background.
I wish.
You just bring that
No,
plant with you everywhere
I
you go.
travel with the
Oh,
plant.
yeah.
No, we're in Ferrari red because Ferrari won, Charles won the Monaco Grand Prix, which is
Yeah.
his home race.
Yeah.
And it's just so exciting.
Are you
So
okay? Are you
I'm
calm
not
down now?
okay.
No, you're
No.
not okay yet. I'm wearing this side McLaren shirt.
So you're going for Oscar.
Yeah, 2 and 4. It's not
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah. 1 and 3. Not bad.
A little bit better. A little bit. Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, it was the Monaco Grand Prix this weekend. It was an exciting race, I would say, because there was a lot of. It's exciting if you know Formula One. I think just watching it as like a first time spectator, it would be probably pretty dull
Yes.
because there was no overtake. There was 2 overtakes.
Well, I mean, it was still dull. I think
Yeah.
what excites you about Monaco is exactly what we saw in the first lap is every little movement could be disastrous for anybody.
Yeah.
And so you're always on, especially when you have, like, there was a point where between 2 and 4, so Piastri, Sainz, Norris, were all within like a half a second of each other.
Yeah.
And it's like one little mistake and one or all 3 of those could be out.
Yeah. All 3 cars are.
yeah.
I mean, I think they're so close to each other on a good day.
Yeah. Yeah.
And just margin for error, which I mean,
Yeah.
they talked about a lot on the broadcast today. Margin for error is minuscule.
Although they hit the walls quite often and keep going, so I don't know. There were a lot of errors, like the
Yeah.
markings on these walls. You
Yeah.
don't see it on any other track.
I think because they're also so scared, like it's so narrow. The streets of
Yeah.
Monaco are just narrow, and then
These cars are wide as shit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So,
Yeah.
but it started off a good, I would say a good.
Do you want to go with the race or you want to start with qualifying?
Oh, let's start with qualifying.
Because qualifying had some interesting things, right? I mean, we were in the same vicinity. I was watching Q3.
Yes.
And you had to do my parental duties.
Yes. Take your kid to baseball.
Thank you. But we had right in Q1, we had Perez out and Alonso out. And it was Norris at that point. Norris was actually he would have been out. He started his flying lap with like 15 seconds left. Like he barely made it out there. But Perez finishing behind Sargent. Behind Logan Sargent.
I mean, are we now seeing the cracks in Checo that we saw last year?
Monaco has never been a good place for him.
No.
For the guy who's supposed to be the street track king, Monaco has never been a good place for him.
No. I don't think anybody really they like Monaco for like the nostalgia, but I think they all kind of struggle there.
Caviar in every single drink they order. Yeah, sure. Or Charles because it's home.
They also all live there, like for the most part.
Yeah, most of them. Yeah,
they all live there. Yeah, so they just kind of just walk to the track.
Yeah, yeah.
It's so easy.
Which I mean, I'd rather be on the team's yacht. For me, why not?
Yeah.
When you've got,
I would just like to be on a yacht.
What is it? What did you say the other day? $10 billion worth of yachts or something like that?
Yes. Value of 10 to 20 billion.
Like that. There was a yacht that I saw today that actually made it into the harbor. I don't know if it was for the whole weekend or if it was just for today. It's $3 million to rent for a week. For a week. It's a 5-story yacht. And every bar turns into like a DJ booth. There's an elevator. There's all kinds of things. Yeah.
So I mean, we next year, obviously.
We'll get a spot. We'll be on there. We'll be broadcasting live
from this yacht. We don't even know what it is. But
I've
yeah,
got it
well,
saved. I got it. Yeah. We'll
okay,
reach out.
perfect. Perfect.
Yeah.
Anyways, we digress. Back to qualifying.
Yeah, but both Perez and Alonso out, which was a shocker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think anytime you see a Red Bull out, typically Checo, it always is a shocker. And then
Yeah.
Alonso, again, he's typically in the better.
He's
I
at
don't
least
say
in
he's
the
in the better.
he's at least in the top 15 this year, and
Yeah.
he makes it out of Q3. And for
Yeah.
somebody who knows his track in and out,
Yeah.
you wouldn't expect something like this.
No.
Because I don't recall there actually being a problem. He got in all his runs, so I don't remember any impeding on him.
No. It wasn't on him.
No.
Someone else had impeding. I
No.
can't remember who. But
Oh, there was a lot of
yeah.
That was the
So
main story, is all the impeding
all the
calls.
impeding. Yeah. So I mean, I think it's always, and it's just not. It's not a track that you need to get into Q3. Yeah, especially at Monaco. There
Yeah.
is no overtaking, or
Yeah.
very minimal overtaking. So,
Because
you know,
generally where you qualify is where you're going to finish.
yeah,
Right? I mean, usually unless there's an incident or you have some kind of strategy that works for you,
yeah,
you're usually going to finish exactly where you started,
right. So,
or within a place or two.
yes.
You're not
Mm.
cutting through the pack, not from
No, you're
17th.
not getting.
No.
No, you're not going all the way up. But
Yeah.
so then that was Q1, Q2. I don't remember. any
Q2, there
drama?
wasn't a lot. Most of the people that you would expect to be out were out. Actually, yeah, I would say, looking at it now, I mean, you had out in that one was Ocon, Hulkenberg, Ricardo, Stroll, and Magnussen. Which Stroll, you figure he should be a little bit higher than that. But yeah, there was there wasn't a lot out there. Actually, they'd probably mostly be out. That's hard to say, because Albon made it into 9th. Sorry, I'm thinking as I'm talking.
Yeah, you're reading and thinking at the same time.
But Albon in 9th was a little bit of a shocker, and Yuki in 8th. Actually, for this year, I would say is pretty on par for Yuki.
Yeah,
Being in that top 10, or being somewhere in the vicinity
close
of
to
that.
that top 10. Yeah.
But both Haas's, for as good as they did in qualifying, were disqualified
To the back.
Yeah.
Back of the grid.
Yeah, they had some technical what was the word they used?
It was a DRS infringement.
Yes. So some of their technical specs weren't up to what the regulations called for.
Yeah.
And there was some miscommunication between their engineering team and their mechanics team or something. So they suffered, and they were disqualified, and they had to start 19th and 20th.
Yeah. And I mean, we'll talk
Which
about what happened.
Sets off the events for the rest of the race.
We'll talk about what happened in the race. But I mean, and then, we have Q3, which is, who's expected there. Everybody that is
For the top 10, yeah, you got the 4 main teams, and
Yeah.
then you had Yuki, Albon, and Gasly.
Yeah.
Actually, sorry, you only had one, the Red Bulls. So, but yeah.
Yeah, and then of course Charles taking pole,
Yeah.
which is
A second faster than Max did it last year. Yeah.
he's been driving that track in
All
his
day,
own
all day,
Ferrari.
all
It's
day.
just going.
100%.
But yeah, I mean, I think he gets into pole. That sets kind of the tone for him. It's his home race. He needs this. He has DNF twice in Monaco. He did not start in Monaco once.
No.
And then he had what?
He
eighth
so
and
his 5 F1 careers. It was 5 F1 career starts. He had a DNS, 2 DNFs.
Yeah.
And then he had a P4, and then the last year was P6.
Yeah.
And then previously in F2 and F3 he had DNFs as well. He had 3 DNFs. So out of 8 races in Monaco, he's only finished 3. So now he's batting .333 now, so he's not bad.
Yeah.
That's not bad in the MLB.
Yeah. Yeah.
But he qualified with a pretty good margin. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a tenth and a half faster than Piastri, where
Yeah.
everybody else was pretty close together.
Yeah. And I think the biggest shock for a lot of people was seeing Max down in 6th. It's not even like Max was on the second row. He was in 6th.
Well, did you see why? So
No.
he goes on his final flying lap, and at some point, I think it's actually it was turn 1 or was it turn 2? He loses the back end, and his wheel touches the
Mm.
wall, and that's it, and his run's over. So he didn't even get to finish his last run.
Oh.
Not to say that he would have beaten Charles,
Right.
because he didn't look great all weekend, and he
Yeah.
was complaining all weekend that the car
Yeah.
was too big, too heavy, he wasn't
Yeah.
making the turns right.
Yeah.
Which we see from him every weekend. But
And then he
this
wins.
one happened to be true.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Well, it was funny, at one point during the race, Crofty kinda came on and they were on board with Max at that point, and they kinda came on and said, "He's not moving up, he's not going
yeah,
anywhere."
yeah.
And he says, "It really is just a case there's nothing inherently wrong with the car. It's just these little things that are difficult on this track."
Well, he
Uh,
did say that, once did allude to the fact that, as teams start catching up, if you don't fix the problems that you have, they're going to
yeah.
start to become more obvious.
Yeah.
And so it seems like it's something that's been at least nagging at Max.
Yeah.
But they figured he's winning already, so it's not a priority.
Yeah.
Maybe it will be now.
Yes. I
I would
would
expect,
have
yeah.
yes. By the time they get to Canada,
Yeah.
everything's sorted out,
Yeah.
and he's running people off the road again, but,
Oh, what a glorious day that would be if he goes back to old Max.
oh, be great. And then we go into the race.
Yep.
So we start with, uh, you know, normal start race procedure. We've got
Yep.
an awesome start for Charles, an awesome start for Carlos, who's in third. He
Yeah, he kind of
almost
gets a jump on
gets
Piastri. Yeah.
he does, and unfortunately it taps him a little bit,
Yeah.
and
Good
then he
on
gets a
Piastri because
puncture.
he late braked. He didn't, he didn't run off the road. He didn't block up
Yeah.
or whatever. He took his chance, which
Yeah.
it was a chance.
Yeah.
But stayed ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then we see, Carlos kinda go off. He kinda goes straight. They're supposed to be on making a turn, and he goes straight off or straight
Yeah.
into
Yeah.
he didn't go into the wall, but, like, into,
Well,
like, a
when you see
offshoot.
Norris's camera behind, you can see that he got a
Yeah.
puncture because he's bottoming out. Like
Yeah.
he's got all those sparks and
Yeah. So he heads out by the Monte Carlo Casino, right in
I think
front of
it's
it,
like two
basically.
turn
Turn
three,
3. Yeah.
something like that.
And then, all of a sudden, there's red flag, and I, at that point, thought the car was just in a bad spot that they couldn't get it out to, spectators, whatever, so that's why they were doing a red
Yeah.
flag, which I was like, "Max is gonna be losing it about this red
Yeah.
flag." And then cut to Perez's car with only one
Only
wheel,
one wheel
no
and
front,
nothing. Yeah, it's gone. It's gone.
like,
Somehow he makes it out of there.
insane how that car looked.
And they had
Uh,
no camera angles as to how it happened. Like at first.
at
All you
first.
just see is that car just flying and he's gone. I'm like, "Oh, of course it was."
Yeah. And then two, Hulkenberg and Kevin Magnussen out, as well, involved in this
Yeah.
crash, and it was like, "What the heck happened
Yeah.
here?" Debris everywhere. The guardrail is ripped to shit.
Yeah.
Like, it was a mess.
Yeah.
So red flag, we go back to everybody goes back to the pits. They do, a flash to all the cars asking if everybody's okay, which they always do.
Then they
Uh,
find out that there's a third
a
crash.
third incident where Ocon tries to take over Gasly,
His
his
teammate.
teammate,
In a
and goes
terrible spot. Like, there's no space for two cars on a straightaway, but then you go into this turn where you have nowhere to turn.
and
It's
you're
almost
about to
it's almost like a 90-degree turn. It's a little bit less than 90-degree turn.
and you're heading into a tunnel.
Yeah.
It's the first lap.
Where you're gonna go flat out.
It's your teammate.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, what is going on? And
Yeah.
Ocon actually goes over, Gasly's front tire. His
Yeah.
car, like,
He launches
airborne.
himself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just launched himself right over, and that could have been really bad.
Yeah. And
That could
he picks up damage on his suspension, which ends his race.
Yeah. And Gasly is fuming on the radio. So we go into the pits. There's restart that needs to happen, cleaning up of everything, and it's probably about 20 minutes, 25 minutes, I think,
Yeah,
from
probably pretty close. Probably about 25, I'd say.
yeah. But we start to see Checo and Kevin and Nico walking around, and I mean they haven't changed. And then all of a sudden you see Ocon walk and he's
in
wearing
his jeans.
jeans.
Yeah, he got out of there real quick. He's like, yeah, well, I guess I'm
Like,
not racing.
well, I think he just needed to leave the paddock at
Yeah,
once.
get out. Yeah.
Too
Okay.
many people were fuming.
So let's go through incident by incident because we went
Okay.
through a lot here.
Yes.
So, when we get to, we'll start with the first one, which is Piastri and Carlos, which I mean, I don't think there's much to unpack there, but
No.
it was a racing incident. It was a good, hard racing incident. Luckily, I think what's important to mention is, Carlos gets the break of a lifetime.
Yes.
So for anybody who's not familiar with the rules, when we do have a red flag, the issues become, are we going to have a standing start? Or are we going to have a rolling start? So they decided pretty quickly they're going to have a standing start. Because it was on lap 1, it really depends, or even any lap, it depends on if that lap was completed or not. So do you have a timed sector that's locked in, which means all cars have to pass that first sector. So they had to go back and over this tape because it took forever for them to figure it out.
To decide, yeah.
If all cars had passed, and that accident had actually been before the end of sector 1, which means they get to restart the race from a fresh restart and everybody in their positions before they got to the end of that sector, which means Carlos has time to get back to the pits, which he actually got his car back on the track in 20th, while at that point 17th.
Yeah. Or what he's assuming is 20th.
Yeah. And he goes back around and his car has enough time to be like the puncture to get fixed and he can start back in third.
Yeah. He could go for a pee, he could go have a bite to eat.
Talk
and
about
be in
the
third.
biggest of breaks.
Yes.
For a seemingly racing incident, it wasn't anybody's fault, either of their faults, really.
Nope. It was the stewards did look at it, but they said nobody at fault.
No, it was just a racing incident, and so instead of starting back at 20, he gets to start back at third.
Yeah.
And which nobody was even sure because everybody else lined up and they had no space for Carlos.
No, they had to move people out. Yeah.
They had to fit him in between the McLaren.
Yeah.
Yeah, so lucky for him. So that was basically the end of that incident, how that happened.
Yeah.
Then we get into the big one.
Yeah.
The one that started it all.
Yeah.
The incident where K-Mag for some reason tries a pass in a spot where he probably I get where he's thinking that he could pass. So he comes up, they come out of that whatever turn it is. Checo's ahead of him. Checo's also ahead of Hülkenberg. They're both behind him, which they're only behind Checo because they had the penalty.
Right.
Their disqualification. He sees this is my problem. He sees Hülkenberg on the left. So he's going to try and go on the right. You can't fit 3 wide. You can barely fit 2 wide. Checo, I don't really think he knows that he's actually going to try and make that move. I think he knows he's got a Haas on either side of him.
Yes.
But I don't think he expects a move there.
No. He sees him, and when they slowed it down, you can see him.
Sure, he's checking his mirrors.
Look and see him there.
Yeah.
But he's not expecting somebody to actually be trying to make that. Like, they know if you look at the other cars in the picture, if you look at the other cars ahead of everybody else, because it's, all the other 16 cars ahead of them, they're on the racing line that Checo's on.
Yeah.
Not what Magnussen's making up at the side here.
Because Jensen Button made a good point. Like you have a little bit of a twist there, right? So a little bit of a, like almost not an S, but a little bit of a wiggly kind of street there. You want to what's the word he used? Thread that needle, right? So you want to kind of just go right between them and go through. That's the racing line. It's the path of least resistance. And if Checo's still looking left and right, he sees, okay, Haas, great. I wouldn't try to pass here, so why would anybody else try it? But as we've seen from Magnussen all season long, he's just going to do whatever he wants.
Yeah, he's going for it, and he went for it.
He went for it, and he came up front axle to rear axle, and got squeezed, and that ruined.
Ended up T-boning Checo, and then pushing Checo,
and poor Hülkenberg almost
close.
Almost made it through, and Checo tags his back tire.
Yeah,
and he's spun out. Yeah.
Not a good time.
No,
for anybody involved.
Leading into this race, Magnussen's got 10 penalty points.
Yep.
Right? You get 12, you get a race suspension.
Yep.
I haven't seen anything come out. I mean, Magnussen's defending himself pretty hard. He's saying that it's Perez's fault for squeezing him, and that he was just going for an overtake, which he wasn't even close. Do you think he gets suspended for Canada?
So it's interesting because at first they were kind of like racing incident, kind of sloppy, but not. It's lap one, but we'll see. We don't really hear much about it after, and then they
No.
kind of just say they're going to be talking. They're going to be reviewing.
Yeah.
And by this time, it's nighttime for us, so it's middle of the morning for everybody's still awake partying with Charles right now. But you'd think by now we would have an answer of if there's going to be a penalty. I think K-Mag's in trouble.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
they're still deciding, but I think he's in trouble. Are they going to give him 2 points right now? I don't know.
Well, I think that's the thing. I think they've decided that he has to have some kind of discipline.
Yeah.
But is it going to involve penalty points?
Yeah. I don't.
I mean,
at
this point, why not?
Yeah, I mean, I think
he hasn't shown anything less than reckless driving for the
for like
first
the last
third
3
of the season. Yeah.
yeah. The last 3 races, he's just been a menace.
Yeah.
It's
And
like
this time it wasn't to help his teammate. He took his team, not that that comes into play in an FIA
no.
decision, but
Yeah,
but
no,
it did cause a collision between 3 racers.
and for all intents and purposes, it is his fault. So I don't know why it's
100%.
taken I don't know why it's taken so long to be like,
I don't know how you cannot say it's not his fault when not only is he trying to pass one person there, he sees that Checo's also got nowhere else to go on the left side because Nico's there.
Yeah.
Right? Any other situation, any driver would say, I got to back out. I can get him, maybe on lap 5, maybe not lap 1.
yeah, let's try it again
There's
next go around.
78 to go.
It's gonna be the same person here the next go around.
Exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
so
He's not
let's
going
figure
anywhere.
that. Yeah, I think there should be a penalty. I don't know why it's taking so long to figure it out.
I think I mean, pretty sure it's going to be guaranteed that he gets that penalty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Well, he's going to have 3 weeks off, so it's okay.
nice little break. Then we have the Ocon Gasly scenario, which we've kind of talked about already. And
Another completely ridiculous, stupid damage.
I just don't know why. And teammate on teammate again.
Yeah.
Right. So it's
And
just
knowing
not fun.
who the 2 that hit or were the cause of the accidents, thinking more an ego thing than it is
Absolutely.
more than it is just
Absolutely.
like I made a mistake kind
Yeah.
of thing.
Yeah. Ocon, I don't know what was going through his head. Again, we're on lap 1.
Couldn't tell you what's going through his head most days. But
We've got a long race. It's 78 laps. It's a long race. We don't need to make great if you can make a move in the first lap, but don't push it.
And not your first run around Monaco.
No.
You know where your chances lie.
Yeah. And that wasn't one of them.
No.
That was not one of them. And I think so Ocon originally was given a 5-second penalty.
Okay.
Which was they were going to actually convert it to a 3-second. Sorry. It was a 5-second penalty that they were converting to a 3 grid place penalty for his next race.
I can't confirm this for you at all because I was in church watching the race with the sound off.
So that's how it started, and then they updated it. And they updated it to a 10-second penalty and a 5 grid place penalty for his next race, which will be Canada in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Again, we saw him walking in jeans within minutes of getting back to the paddock.
Yeah. And Brundle made the comment, unless those are fireproof jeans, he's not getting back in the car.
Yes, he's not racing. Yes, he's out. There was no talk of his car after. There was no like, he
No.
drove it back to the pit lane, so, I mean, obviously, it was bad enough damage, but
Yeah, the report was a broken suspension, rear suspension. I
yeah.
mean, when you go probably like 4.5, 5 feet in the air and come down with, however heavy those cars are, they're
Yeah.
pretty heavy.
Well,
Um,
it's lap 1, they're all the fuel. They're
that
heavy.
too, yeah, the fuel as well.
So, I mean, he was out. I mean, you probably have the quote there from Bruno
I
Famine,
do.
which
Bruno
came
Bruno says Esteban's attack was completely out of circumstances, basically, that nobody would ever try that there. And it's exactly what we didn't want to see. We will draw consequences. We will decide straight away. So basically, something's going to happen.
yeah,
And it was
he's in trouble.
reported by Ted Kravitz, who's an F1, Sky F1 reporter, the trackside guy, that it was seen, so take that with a grain of salt, that Bruno Famine was calling Jack Doohan, who is their reserve driver, about racing possibly in Canada. Shortly, right after, actually, it was their talks and everything was,
Yeah.
we're done with the drivers.
Yeah.
So, yeah, not good for Ocon.
No, not
Especially when by all intents and purposes, the way he's been talking and lobbying for seats in Mercedes, it looks like he's not going to be back in the Alpine seat.
no.
And then making stupid decisions like that.
Yeah.
Probably, I don't know what Toto wants him fighting George like that.
No, not at all. Toto won't put up with it.
No.
So, I mean, neither is Bruno, clearly. I mean, he made those comments to a media outlet, a French media outlet. So,
Which, I mean, give Bruno all the credit he deserves. He was in the
yeah,
finals in our F1 draft, okay?
yeah,
So, I
true.
mean, he is a shrewd operator and he
Mhm.
doesn't give a shit.
Yeah.
And that's just the way it's got to be. And he doesn't care to tell anybody. He's
No.
not going to give you some, not like these American sports teams where they give you very prepared PR answers. Just feel like,
Yeah.
fuck this guy. He's out.
Yeah, basically is what they were saying. This guy messed up my car.
Yeah.
But, uh, so those were the accidents. Then we're kind of at one point, I don't know if you noticed this, but fastest lap kept
Yeah.
going between Charles, Piastri, and Carlos. Kept just alternating between the
Not
three of them.
true. Not true, because after that first lap, Bottas had that fastest lap for about
Whoa.
20 laps. I
Yeah.
watched. I'm like, and I saw
Yeah.
that fastest lap at the bottom. Like, how is this happening? He's
Yeah.
behind traffic, and he was in that little train behind Alonso the whole time.
Yeah.
But anyways,
But
yeah,
yeah, then
that was the inconsequential fastest lap.
yes.
I get it.
And then it kind of kept going between the three of them. And then in the end, who did it end up with? Bottas ended with it.
I don't believe wasn't it Russell?
Was it Russell?
I don't know. Again, I was in church, so I was looking down as much as I could. But
Yeah, I don't remember who ended with
exercise
it,
in church.
but it didn't end up. It didn't end with with anybody in the top 10, I don't believe, or top 3 at least.
Actually,
The
yes, it was. It was Lewis Hamilton. That's right. He
oh
did get it.
oh
Hamilton got it.
that's right, because he pitted and got some
And he
faster
got tires,
tires.
yeah, because he
Uh,
could actually pit at that point and
yes,
come out and without consequence.
yes. So I mean, after all those accidents, we also had the race restart, which was again a really good race restart for Charles.
Everybody
Oscar,
got out pretty well
yeah,
that time.
except for
Oscar got a better one.
yes, Oscar was better than Carlos, who was good the first go round. Um, Oscar's pit wall was telling him that he did have damage.
Yes.
But go ahead.
Manageable. Yeah.
It's manageable. Do what you
Nothing they're
need to
gonna fix
do.
then. Yeah, it was probably something on the floorboard or something.
Yeah. And I mean, he was keeping for lap 15, I think they were still, right on Charles.
Yeah.
But Charles was actually doing his strategy moves of he was backing up the grid.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think this was one of I'm gonna call it slowest races because of the strategy that was going on. And it was happening at multiple like points on
Yeah.
the grid. You know, George was doing it to Max at one point, just slowing down completely, which you think not smart because it's going to keep them within DRS. but it was
DRS not really a factor here.
it there's only one spot,
If you
and
put your car in that middle of that track, there's no way anybody can get around you.
no, and there's
Rarely.
only one DRS zone, which is not very long. So
No.
good luck, basically.
No, this race's strategy really came down to pit stops. That's where you lose about at Monaco, you lose about 20 seconds per pit stop. It's a short pit lane.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's can you make an undercut work? Can you make an overcut work?
Yeah.
You know, are you going to come out into traffic? Which is
Yeah.
shit, because then you can't pass.
Because then you
can't.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
That's probably the only place you can pass is the pit lane and the driving line. Like,
pretty
so
much, yeah.
unless
And
you
if
time it perfectly.
Yeah, and if
But-
you're and if you got somebody in front of you with blue flags, and you can make that work, where
Yeah.
they're going to be stopped by somebody else because you're coming up to a turn, right?
Yeah.
Whoever's, you're defending against.
Yeah. And I mean,
We saw all of that.
yeah, I mean, the pack got backed up so far that at one point, Charles, who was in first, was lapping Yuki in 8th.
Yeah, that was the last person lapped.
Yeah,
You-
and like Max at one point was 35 seconds in 6th behind Charles and first. Like,
Yeah.
it was just crazy numbers to look at. It was a very strategic, it was a numbers game. Monaco is
Yeah.
a numbers game. And I know we talked about overcut, undercut a couple weeks ago, and this was a race that there is a lot of overcut and undercut, but all the strategy of it, only 2 people used it because they were on good tires. They were
Used it
slowing down.
used it effectively.
Yeah, used it effectively. Yeah,
there were people that were going to try, but didn't
Yeah.
happen out.
it wasn't going to work for any of the top. It wouldn't have worked for any of the top 4. The overcut
for the
or
top
the
four.
or the undercut would have just completely ruined their race.
Well, the
Uh,
tire strategy kind of went out the window as well, right?
Yeah.
With the race restart, so you have to use 2 compounds of tires.
Yeah.
And so the people that started lap 1 on the mediums
Mhm.
got to change their tires to the hard.
Yeah.
Which meant they could go all the way around, or at least build themselves a gap. So if they had to
Yeah.
change, they could change it at, lap 70 or whatever
Yeah.
it was.
Yeah.
And the people that started the race on the hard, they could change to the mediums, but they're not making it to the end of the race in the mediums.
No.
So, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
That kind of really threw all that strategy out the window.
Yeah. It was such a bizarre, I mean, you were just listening to, again, watching it just as cars are driving around, not much happening, but listening to the radios was where
Yeah.
all the strategy was happening, listening to the drivers talking. And one thing that I thought was really interesting this race was Carlos, who's in 3rd and stayed in 3rd the whole time.
Stayed in 3rd, yeah.
Yeah. He could see, the drivers can always see what's going on in front of them. And so he's trying to, again, you didn't have sound.
I didn't have the
This is-
sound. I
so-
didn't. I'm sorry.
He-
I should have brought my AirPods. Damn it.
He
Wouldn't
was
have been obvious at all.
right. He was actually worried about what strategy Charles was on. And so he was like, if he keeps doing that, Oscar's going to catch him. He's got to be careful. Make sure he's being careful. He kept coming on the radio. He was very concerned about his
Well,
teammates.
because he knew
Right.
that he wasn't, if he had somehow managed to get past Piastri, he wasn't going to fight Charles.
No.
So his concern was ensuring that he can help Charles in any way he could. If
Yeah.
he wasn't going to pass Piastri. And you saw that. You saw that probably
Yes.
with 15 laps left.
Yeah.
I looked down. And I saw for some reason, like, Charles was 8 seconds ahead. I
Yeah.
said, how did this happen?
Yeah.
But everybody else, 2 to 3, 2 to 4, were all half a second. So maybe you can confirm this for me or not.
Yeah.
My assumption was that Sainz was pushing so hard, causing Piastri to defend, that it allowed Charles to build up a bit of a lead.
Yes. But
But
I don't remember what they said, but there was something starting to go in Piastri's car.
okay.
Something was not, and they were like, okay, don't fight there, just start defending. And then it was like, at this point, just let Charles go.
See, you miss critical
Yeah,
parts
you do, man.
when
Critical.
when Jesus and F1 fall on the same day.
Oh God.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, him.
That guy,
Cheers
that
to
guy.
him. Yeah. I mean, I'm gonna post the picture of you in
I'm gonna
church.
post it
I'm
too,
gonna post a
100%.
picture of you in church
I was
watching.
at the church with Charles while
Yeah,
while I was in church.
yeah.
Um,
It was, and I think it was, I mean, after the race, I did watch a couple interviews with, Charles, just kinda talking about what was going through his head, and he was kinda bantering a little bit, joking around with his, pit wall, his race engineer, but he said after that the biggest fight he had in this race was with his mind, is
yeah,
he was just starting to think about his personal life. It's an emotional race for him. If you're at home, not every driver will win a home race.
no, not
Um,
every driver has a home race
Not
for
every
sure.
driver has a home race. Um, he's barely broken top 3 with racing here.
Yeah,
So,
I think that's the biggest thing is that,
yeah,
being, he said that after his race, he just after he crossed that line, he just kept thinking about his dad. His dad passed
yeah,
away,
yeah,
who helped him put him through, get him where he is, really.
yeah,
And to have such horrible, horrible race results
yeah,
at your home race consistently with that's
yeah,
obviously in his mind to
yeah.
come out on top on this one. I mean, I don't think he even cares to win. No, he does care,
He does.
but to
He
win the
wanted
championship,
this one.
he will win the champ.
This one.
He wants to win the championship, but this
Yeah.
is probably the most important race win he'll ever have.
Yeah. Well, and I think maybe now that it's out of the way, he's got it. Maybe he can just go on and get that championship
My
now.
my prediction, my
Yeah.
prediction, it's
So
coming.
it's funny. Another thing he said, or they were talking about, Crofty was saying that he was talking to him that when they were doing when the drivers were all kind of getting ready to come out and go to their cars, he, Max apparently went up to him and said, "Hey, your lace is undone." And he was like, "Oh, with my luck, I should probably tie those up." Like, he's just so,
Yeah.
like, worried about, I mean, you should tie up your laces, but, like, it's not like he's using his feet for pedals or anything, but, or yes, he is
Yes,
for
he
brakes,
is.
but
Well, yes, he
yeah,
is. Maybe that's why he did
but
so poorly in the simulator.
well, yeah, maybe. But,
Ah,
yeah, he was just, like, any and everything, and he said the last couple,
the
he
last
did,
couple, yeah.
yeah,
I
he
was gonna
was,
say the same thing with when he was talking to Signs and they asked if
yeah,
he cried, and he said, "Yeah, started in the last 2 laps," and he said,
yeah,
"Come on, Charles, not now. Don't I need
yeah,
to see."
not now, not the time, wait till it's
Can you
back.
imagine if he crashed because he was starting to cry at
That
lap 76?
that would be like the George scenario of, like, "There's is it raining?" "No, I'm just crying."
So
But, I mean,
for as much fun as Charles had with his pit wall, there were a lot of people that did not have fun with their pit wall.
no,
There was Max was not happy with the car.
no,
Not happy with the car, not happy with the traffic, not happy with the ability not to pass.
no.
It must be so frustrating to be in the fastest car and you have to go like you're in a go-kart.
Yeah. I mean, he was complaining that he was bored.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah,
Well, 78 laps of just doing the same turns, the same repetitive motion for 2 hours
yeah,
in heat.
yes.
Yeah. Um,
On streets that he drives every
yeah,
day.
exactly. Yeah.
Like,
He's gonna move out of there
yeah,
this
he was
week.
like,
Yeah,
"We're
I can't
done.
see this place.
We're done."
There was also I mentioned to you, George over strategizing, which I just wanted to yell at my phone and say,
Yeah,
"Shut the f." So
yeah,
it was lap 2, lap 3, something like that. And he's behind Norris, right? Yeah, he was behind Norris at that point.
yeah,
And he was saying that he could go for, a 3-lap push or 3 seconds, something with a 3. I can't remember exactly
yeah.
what it was. And he was going to push and he can make it work. And his pit wall is telling him, just use your tire.
Stop.
Just stop.
Stop.
It's a long race. We've already changed your tires. We want you to keep going to the end. We don't
Yeah,
want to have to change again. And not in so many words. He
yeah,
says, but I can make it work. I can make it work. Okay, but if you just shut up.
yeah,
You're there.
yeah,
Stop. And that's George's problem. I think he over analyzes every little single thing.
yeah.
And it just completely F's up his in race decisions.
Well, it makes me think, like, do they not go over stuff with George? Because I feel like George always seems to be a little bit confused when his team asks him to do stuff.
I think it's George wanting to be a control freak and be like,
Okay.
I know better.
Yeah, okay.
I've already done the PowerPoint and
Yes.
analyzed all the data.
Yeah.
You're wrong.
Yeah, like, this is not the first race that we've seen him
No,
kind of, like,
no,
argue
no.
about the decision, and, like, don't get me wrong, strategists aren't always right because they're they can see the data, but I mean, these drivers are in the car. They can see and feel and whatever, but it was so early
You're
and we
also
had
yeah,
just
exactly.
changed the tires, like
You're also in Monaco. You don't
yeah.
need to pass right now. Let's
Yeah.
see what happens with the pit stops, if
Yeah.
there is one, or
Yeah. And it
another
was
safety car.
right, and it was like I said, it was very early. It was I wanna say you're right, I think it was lap 3.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
You wanna try an overtake, or you wanna try and push? Sure. Do it at lap 60.
yeah, exactly.
You know what I
We'll
mean?
we'll
Let's see
push
how the
then.
race goes.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, I think overall Lewis was a little
Lewis was
sassy this
yep.
week
One
as
that
well.
stuck out for me in the race was the he pits. Yeah, he pitted for new tires on lap
Mhm,
something about on lap 60 or something like
mhm,
that. And then right away Max responds with a pit.
mhm.
And so I guess Max pits and still comes out ahead of Lewis by 2.5, 3 seconds, something like that.
Yeah,
So Lewis can obviously see him coming out, and he just blasts his pit wall,
yeah,
saying, "Why did you tell me the outlap was critical?
yeah.
Like push as soon as you see him coming into that pit. Was he going to catch Max with a 2.5 second lead? Maybe not. It would have been close,
No, but I mean, you also knew he was there to
but he didn't know
begin,
he was
like
coming into the pits, right?
d
He
fair.
at that point he thinks
That's
he's
fair.
warming up tires and going to see how
That's
it's going to
fair.
go
Yeah,
because he knew Max changed to he was on the mediums.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's fair. It was just he was a little sassy after the, uh, lap 1 when he was coming in as well. He kinda made a comment of, eh, "I told you guys." And it was kinda like, what are you arguing about?" But
Oh yeah, what was
it was the tire. It was the Crofty kinda had to figure out what they were talking about, and it was he was referring
oh,
to
that's right.
tires.
He said, "I told you guys. I told you guys. It
Yeah,
wasn't the right decision or something like that."
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
and it was tires
Oh
that
no,
he was
I think
referring to.
he was yeah. He probably wanted to start on the mediums,
Yeah,
and he started on the hards.
yeah,
That's right, because then he switched to the mediums. Yeah.
yeah.
So he was kind of yeah. I told you we should be on because he expected some kind of
Right,
safety car, something like that.
but, I mean, mediums didn't take him to the and wouldn't have taken him to
No,
the end.
but he was on the mediums. No, sorry, he was on the hards first and switched to the mediums. So he had to pit again.
Didn't he start on medium? I thought he started on medium.
No, he
Hmm.
started on hards.
Oh, okay.
He started on hards, switched to the mediums, so which meant, and same with Russell. So that's why they had to
Right,
switch. They had to stop again,
right.
and it was the same with the Red Bulls.
Yeah,
It was the McLarens and the Ferraris that had started on the mediums and switched to the hards
and
so they could
switched to
go.
the hards,
Yeah,
yeah. It was kind of everybody with different strategies,
sometimes it
but
works, sometimes it doesn't. I
yeah,
mean, things that are out of your control,
yeah,
but you should expect it with Haas's behind
yeah.
you.
Anything's possible with the Haas behind you. So the Haas of Kevin Magnussen behind
That's
you.
true. Yes,
Please
yes, yes, yes.
expect anything.
Let's give some credit where credit's due to
Yeah,
Hulk.
exactly, exactly. Um And I mean, that was it.
That was the race.
Yeah, like you said, at one point, Charles got he gained a gap of 2.9. At that point, that was the furthest gap he had had for the day.
Yeah,
And then, lap 72
yeah.
maybe is when he kind of took
He
off
was at yeah, and he
a
finished with 8.5 seconds.
yeah.
Yeah,
So Oscar came in second, Carlos came in third.
yeah,
Uh, I would say funny weekend. Like Formula 1 is so serious. These drivers are under so much pressure, but I think there was a lot of funny stuff that happened this weekend with
yeah. There was
Carlos
a
or
lot of lightheartedness around. Yeah,
yeah, lot Carlos and Charles and Oscar about being adopted
yeah,
and I mean even F1 and the FIA kinda went in on the joke.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
everybody
Switching
kind of
Oscar's name.
yes.
Yeah,
So I
even
mean,
Oscar's mom was getting in on it, trying to
yeah.
adopt Yuki Tsunoda.
Yeah, it's just like it was kind of funny. Um, Everybody seemed kind of we've mentioned it a couple times. Carlos has seemed off in the last little bit. Everybody was a little frustrated in the last couple races, so
Yeah,
it was nice to see everybody kind of joking around.
settle down. Yeah,
Yeah, and then we have everybody being nice and congratulating Charles.
yeah,
They know it's something, and everybody wants that home race win, so I think they
yeah.
all appreciated it.
They all understood that. Yeah, Well, I
So
did see the thing that Max always looks happier for everybody else who wins
yeah,
a race instead of himself.
yeah, it's true. He's all like he's so smiley and
Oh
like
yeah, yeah.
happy,
That's
but
good for you to get one in. I'll take the
yeah,
next two.
no, you know, I gave you this one.
But it was also I didn't know this, but it was the first time that in the history of the Monaco Grand Prix that all the top 10 racers that started finished in the top 10.
In their exact
Previous
same spots.
in the exact same spots. Sorry, yes, right.
Yeah.
In the exact same spots. The previous was, I think it was only the top 6. That was the previous, I guess, record. But this was 1 through 10 stayed 1 through 10 exactly as they were as they started.
Because Carlos got lucky.
Yes,
Yeah.
because Carlos got lucky. So
Yeah.
maybe we should be thanking K-Mac.
Yes.
Uh,
Yeah, for that. Appreciate it.
yeah.
So, some news.
There's nothing huge this week.
No.
Not really. We had the FIA abandoned their terrible wheel cover idea, which we posted, sorry, on here. Was it 3 weeks? Something like that.
Something like that.
They realized it sucked. Didn't do anything. Even Oliver Behrman came out before that saying, yeah, it helped a little bit, but it's not really effective.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they got rid of that. We had Helmut Marko, who was actually being nice for once.
Yeah.
He actually had praise for Yuki, saying that he makes almost no mistakes anymore. He's focused. He works hard. You can see his maturity, and that he's trending upwards, which you don't see Helmut say that about anyone other than Max.
Yeah.
Nobody.
Literally nobody.
Yeah. They don't.
Even
he doesn't
his
have that much
second
praise. He may have
right.
Yeah.
Even a second driver, he can give like a good job. The car finished.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Not even you finished. The
Yeah.
car finished. But yeah.
I mean, it means nothing because we know he's not going to put him in a Red Bull.
Absolutely nothing.
It's
He's
absolutely
just
nothing.
you're doing well for your RB.
Yeah, exactly.
You will stay where you are.
Yuki seems to be looking elsewhere.
Yeah.
There was a lot of talk this week about Valtteri Bottas. No, we did that last week, didn't we? Coming out of the Williams garage. Was that last week?
That was last week.
Oh, sorry, no. Carlos Sainz in advanced talks with Williams. I don't see that happening.
Don't see it happening, and I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't want him in a car that.
Well, why would he? Why would he?
Just why?
Not decline. The sense is that he doesn't want to be in a distractions here. The sense is that he doesn't want to be in a shit car for 2025, but nobody wants to give him 1 year. So he's maybe not declined, but been hesitant to sign with Audi. Stake to make that transition into Audi, which we all think he's going to anyways.
Yes.
So why would he go to Williams for 1 year?
I don't know.
Think he would.
I don't think he would. I don't know. I still think the driver pool is so open, but there's a lot of just a lot of talk. There's a lot going on. I mean, I guess because there's so many people with contracts up.
Yeah.
And so many seats
and
still
there's
available.
A lot of conjecture, and everybody's talking to everybody, so everybody thinks, oh, he's going there.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, Bottas has been rumored for Williams. Carlos has been rumored for Williams. Somebody else is looking at Williams?
Maybe Kimi Antonelli, if they can get a
Kimi
driver
Antonelli.
for Mercedes.
Yeah. And the sad part is nobody is talking about Logan remaining in that Williams. So,
well, because I think everybody, including Logan, has just resigned to the fact that he's not driving in F1 next year.
The writing is on the wall.
When I said to you during the race that the race restart that he looked very pleased with himself in the garage while he was waiting. Because he knew he couldn't finish 20th this weekend. He couldn't finish any lower than 16. Yeah, 16. And he finished 15th.
Yeah, so he's one ahead.
Yeah. Which we didn't mention, but he actually got there by just tailing a blue flag.
Yes.
Zhao was given a blue flag for, was it Charles to pass? Or was it somebody else?
No.
At that point. I can't remember who it was. So Zhao had to move over, and Logan just decided, you know what, I'm going to take this one too, and just rid that car up his butt.
Took
Right?
the opportunity, and I was like, "You know what? Good on you."
Now that's strategy. Yeah.
Good on you. You're a lap behind. I'm just gonna take it.
Yeah. This is
Wanna
worth
give
no
me a
points.
penalty? Sure.
Who cares?
Like, am I allowed to do this? Not sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think
Yeah, he's done.
yeah, unfortunately. I'm a little worried about Checo, not gonna lie. The last couple races, he's on that downward slump
Well, that's
again.
the thing. Like we know it's most likely that Kimmy's going to be in here. Kimmy Antonelli, not Kimi
Mhm.
Räikkönen, is going to be in F1 next year. Same thing with Behrman this weekend. This next year.
Yeah.
And we know K-Mag's probably not going to be here.
Yeah, at this
Doesn't
rate,
look
no.
like doesn't look like Sargent. And now, well, we're just having some fun with this, but maybe not Perez. That leaves 3 seats open and only 2 people coming into the sport. So,
Which just F2 news, or it's not really news, but just F2 chatter. Bierman and Antonelli had an awesome fight.
yeah,
Being on this
I
damn
sent that
team.
to you.
Yeah,
They
it
had
was
a great
awesome.
fight.
Yeah, for F2, and I mean they were
And kept
the
it
two
clean as teammates. Go figure.
right. They should be teaching some of these F1.
Hard, fair racing.
Yeah.
They do have smaller cars.
Yes.
They do have smaller cars.
Yes.
So shouldn't they go to smaller cars in F1? I mean, there's a very big speed discrepancy.
Yeah.
But
I mean, you see these 2 youngish guys looking, and it's like, okay, this is what we need in Formula 1.
Yeah,
Young, and it was great.
I mean, Behrman still has more points in F1 than he does in F2.
Yeah,
But
he does.
it was great racing.
It was great racing for anybody that watches F2.
Yeah.
But
Just speaking, this is the only really thing other thing I had, but just sticking on the Williams thing. Albon got some upgrades to his car this weekend, which seemed to work. Put him in 9th place.
Yeah.
Really happy to see that. But Logan got nothing, which is not a shock. They usually bring some parts to one car over another first.
Yeah.
But he also had a 2023 rear wing because they didn't have enough spare parts. What is going on in this factory?
Which is why I don't want Carlos to go to Williams.
Were they supposed to make a rear wing? But they got busy fixing a chassis, and they just stopped. Like what? You would think those are 2 different departments.
You would think,
or not, or they have the ability to make more than one part at once. But how do you not have a spare rear?
I don't know. And like, did he get Albon's old one, or did he get his old one? Like,
I don't know.
I think they need the break. They need the break. They need to reset. Everybody needs to go do their own thing for a weekend.
They need to start making parts for 2025 and 2026 simultaneously.
Now.
Yeah, right now.
Like, we need 7 chassis. Like,
geez, it's nuts.
Disaster.
But that's it for news, really.
Yeah.
Nothing really of any consequence.
No.
Anything else? So with that,
fresh set.
Oh, you did remember? See, I was gonna see if you remembered.
Fresh set.
We effed it up last week.
Yes, we did.
I don't.
What do you mean?
Do I even have to ask you?
No, you do not have to ask
my
fresh.
Can you think of another one, or is just your mind just preoccupied? No, don't even bother. Don't even try to find one. We know what it is.
Yeah, it's Charles Leclerc getting P1 in Monaco. And it's not, again, it's not even just the P1. I mean, yes, it would be nice if he won a race somewhere else.
Yeah.
But this was the one that I think he wanted and everybody wanted for him.
Yeah.
So, my first set.
Nice.
Original,
I would, yeah. I so want to say that we might have a race next week without K-Mag and Ocon, and so that I want to preempt my fresh set. Which it just dawned on me.
That might jinx it.
Just dawned on me, we might actually be missing 2 regular drivers next week. Next 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
But I will, in that same vein, I will give my fresh set to the bottom 3 of the top 10: Tsunoda, Albon, and Gasly.
Oh, okay.
It's nice to see a very different, sort of different names than you're usually seeing in those points.
Yeah, I agree. I think Gasly needed that top 10 finish. Like, just for his own mindset, I think he needed a top 10 finish. But yeah, pretty
that's
good.
my fresh set. Yeah, I like them,
Here
and I
we
like
go.
all 3 of those. So all 3 of them.
All 3 of those.
Yeah.
Dirty air.
I mean, there was a lot of that too.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm gonna like he redeemed himself, but I'm gonna say I feel like Carlos could have gotten that second on the first on lap 1 before the restart. Just that collision and the puncture, I think, really messed him up. I mean, again, he got lucky. He got the 3rd.
So where's your dirty air on just the collision itself?
Yeah, I think he could have got second. I think he
could've.
could have.
I
Yeah,
think he could have. Yeah, if they didn't touch, they would have been right alongside each other. I think he could have pulled it out. Yeah.
yeah. There was a little bit of room, but I'll settle for 3rd. It's fine.
Okay, so you're blaming Charles. Okay, I mean Carlos.
Yes.
You love one Ferrari, you hate the other. It's fine.
I don't hate the other.
No, you said it.
I love them
you
both.
said it.
I love
I
them.
heard those words exactly verbatim. My dirty air. I mean, it's easy. I could have picked K-Mag. I could have picked Ocon again. I'll just bring him back. I'll bring him up every single time. But
what were we gonna do when they're not in F1 anymore?
I don't know.
What were we gonna yell at?
I have no easy pickings.
Yeah.
I'll find somebody else.
Yeah.
It'll be it's got to be on the Mercedes drivers team radios this weekend. I'm gonna quote a Deftones song. It's just "Shut Up and Drive." For anybody that knows who Deftones is.
Shut up and drive.
Yeah, you have no idea what that song is,
Nope,
do you?
no idea.
Yeah.
But I like it. I like
it's
that
actually
idea.
called "Be Quiet, Shut Up and Drive."
Even better.
So there you go. Yeah.
That's what they want to say. That's what
if I wasn't gonna get the video taken down on YouTube, I'd play it. But...
yeah.
But yeah, no, just leave it to this. Like, you can have a conversation with your strategist. You can, you can have an opinion. You don't have to be a dick about it. Talk it out. You have your plan. Ask why you're not doing that plan.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, just shut up and drive.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny. Charles and him and his race engineer were kind of going back and forth, and Charles was asking, like, "Do you want to know what the margin is?" And they're like, "No, we don't. We see it." He's like, "Are you sure? Like, I can tell you." They're like, "No, don't say it. Like, we get it. Just drive." And
well,
and
like,
so
oftentimes they'll say, like, "What do you think about this?" Or why are we doing this? Why are we going plan A instead of plan B? Why am I not pushing?
Yeah. Well, it was funny. Martin Brundle actually said, the reason Ferrari was probably pushing back on Charles was that they don't want to talk about it on the radio. They didn't want to expose what was going on.
I get that, but you would think that they would have some kind of code, like call an audible,
Yeah.
Blue 42 it or whatever.
Right.
They do so much research and talking and debriefing. Yeah. They should have this down instead of just saying with plan A, B, C, D, Z, 5, 3, whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah. Okay, so that's mine. That's yours.
It. All right. Well,
that's ours.
That's this week.
That's this week.
And next week we have a bye week, so no race. Then we are in Canada.
Okay. I'm not gonna sing it. I don't sing it on a regular day because I hate my voice. But
well then.
I'm not gonna sing it now. But yeah.
We are in Canada.
Montreal. Yeah. The French part of Canada.
Yes.
I'll have my opinions about that. No, I won't.
We'll get canceled for
we
real.
We might, but who cares if we get canceled in Quebec?
Yeah.
They can't understand us anyways.
Oh my god. Anyways, you can find us on no.
On Instagram,
Yeah.
on X, on YouTube, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, wherever you get it. Like,
And
comment,
TikTok. We're on
and TikTok
TikTok
now.
now.
Yeah, that's right. Yes.
So
So
follow us.
like, comment, subscribe, share it. Follow our Instagram. We do all our food stuff there, where we do our food
Yes.
stuff for every race. Which this week was a little bit different. This week it was hard finding Monegasque cuisine.
Yes.
So we did South France,
South of
Monegasque,
France
similar-ish.
influence.
Yes, yes.
Stuff you can find on a menu in the south of France and
Yeah.
Monaco.
And if you've got a
Yeah,
complaint about it, keep that to yourself because we don't care. It was delicious.
it was delicious. It
But
was
yeah,
great.
check us out there at Fresh Set Podcast every time.
Every single time.
Wherever you get it. Yeah.
And we will see you guys back here next week.
Yeah. Grab a fresh set.
Bye.